Welcome to Business Life TV, where I talk all things business and marketing.
Getaway Factory.
Today I have with me Jasky Singh, who is a business owner and is also an MC on the side.
In a
past life, sorry. So welcome on board, Jasky.
Pleasure to be.
You're really big on the personal branding side of things, and I think you're one of the few local Perth guys that actually does it well and does it consistently. I think you're really good at writing and marketing your own brand. Tell me more about how you came to do this. Like, how did this come about?
Well, I think it sort of stemmed from K2AV itself, where I realized content marketing was important, and the way I realized it was important was when initially you have a communication with a client. That's it. You've done the job for them. You've done a good job, and that's it. Like, they don't speak to you until they need something else again. So then, when they need something else again, how are they going to remember you? Because they might go, "Well, I don't know who did this. Let me find out if I can get the next person to do an installation or a design or whatever it may be for me." So it came from that sense where this is 5 years down the track, where content marketing probably wasn't as big as it is now. There's a lot of noise out there, but back then it probably wasn't as big. But I just thought, hey, if we're sending them maybe some pieces of information on a regular basis, subconsciously they're going to see our name there.
Yeah.
Right? So then they'll see, okay, K2 Audiovisual, this is useful, hey, this is cool. And if you're seeing it on a weekly basis, at some point they'll go, oh, now I need this next system. Let me call K2 Audiovisual, because we're front of mind. So that's how it started. And I was writing a newsletter which was basically rehashing useful information I found towards education, very education driven. Then it started on the corporate side as well. And it was just me coming up with content, which has led to so many opportunities, which I would have never imagined. That was purely the aspect I went with, saying this will just keep us front of mind, but opened the doors to several clients that just said, "Hey, this guy's here to help," right? Because it takes time. It takes hours putting that stuff together. So from there, I ended up thinking, "Hey, what happens when K2AV is not around? Touch wood, but at some point it's not going to be around, right?" And that's the complete honesty. And all of that goodwill, or all of that relationship, the brand you've developed for K2, doesn't mean as much when the business is. Well, it doesn't mean anything when the business is around.
That's right.
But say Jasky Singh, the name could mean something,
That's right?
So if I have certain content around myself, or I'm adding value to people, they'll go, "Hey, I associate myself positively with this guy." And if I make a leap from X to Y, and also I'm adding value to people, you're adding some sort of groundwork.
Yeah. Am I correct in saying if you weren't doing K2AV anymore and you started another business or a few businesses, then that brand that you've created, that personal brand, will help you in those other businesses?
Definitely. So let's take, for example, Seth Godin. You're familiar with Seth Godin? Yeah, so let's take him, for example. He was, a lot of the blogging I do is on Medium, right? Medium.com, which is just one of the biggest blogging platforms at the moment. Yeah. So he was not on Medium. He's got a strong brand. A lot of business owners, sort of relate to him, read his material, have some sort of positive correlation with him. He jumped onto Medium. And within a week, if you look at his profile, he's got 100,000 followers or something, right? And for me, writing there on months, I've only got like 2,000. Yeah. So what I'm trying to show is it sort of overrides the noise, and you can jump from platform to platform because you've got a brand.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what are your plans for your personal brand? Are you going to continue to grow it? Is there a certain direction you want to take it, or a certain focus that you're going to have on it? What are your plans for the Jasky empire?
The Jasky. What my brand positioning is just around simplicity. So what I'm good at is just simplifying things, which is find something really complex like marketing, public speaking, storytelling, whatever it is, and I just try and simplify it so the person reading it has an actionable step, and it gives me obviously a positioning, because you need a positioning to filter through the market. So if someone's going to read my stuff, they'll go, "Hey, I'll get some simple, actionable takeaway from him," right? So what I'm trying to do is take that to another level, which is go even simpler. How can I make something that's like my longest article probably went for like 20 pages, right? Yeah. even take that to a level of more simplicity, yet maintain the message, maintain the value, maintain the actionable takeaway.
Awesome.
So yeah, I'm working on a couple of things which will again incorporate video. It'll incorporate some sort of visual aspect.
Awesome.
And yeah, hopefully in the next few weeks I'll get a bit of an idea.
Yeah,
I don't want to mention anything because it might go on a different tangent, but I'm playing with a few things. Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah. But and the aim is to continue to continue to be that simplicity positioning and just do more along those lines.
What are some quick tips that you'd give to someone who wants, or business owner who wants to start a personal brand with the same goal in mind as you? You know, he knows that his business is might not be forever, but he knows that himself, his brand, is always going to be forever. What are some tips that you'd give that person in terms of where do they even start, and should they start? Should everyone do it?
I guess so. I guess if your purpose is to have, maybe yes and no. I mean, yes, I think everyone should do it to a certain extent, depending on what your vision is, what your aim is. If your aim is to have a personal brand, a lot of people don't want a personal brand, they want the business brand, which is fine. But if you were to, I guess, try and develop a business brand, I mean, what I've learned, I haven't been doing it for that long, but what I have learned is you've got to try and just be very authentic, which to a vulnerable, not to a creepy level, but just be yourself, right? Because you're yourself better than anyone else is. I'm myself better than anyone else is. So just, I guess, be yourself, so then people relate to your personality because it's your brand. Always try and add value. I don't know who said it, but there's a 51-49 is a...
Gary Vaynerchuk, I think.
Oh, was it? Okay. Okay. So so then try and add more value than you take, right? So then if you're always adding more value, then, you know, of course you're benefiting the other party and they'll keep coming back to you. And I think the really important part is if you're going to take action, make sure you have a clear positioning. And maybe that's me coming from a marketing side that I always talk about positioning, but I always think it's really important. So I mean, is if you position what you're doing very clearly, then that way you're competition less. You're not doing what everyone else is doing. Because if you are doing what everyone else is doing, it's very hard for you to stand out. So if you have a clear positioning, you know, like for example, me is, hey, I try and be the simplicity guy. Right, so if you're going to come for a simple thing, you'll come to me. If you want to go for something else, you maybe go to the other person, right? So if you have that clear positioning, it just makes your life easier.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Now, another one of your strengths, public speaking. So, and you wrote an article on this recently. Can anyone become good at public speaking, in your opinion?
I would think so, but maybe that's looking through my lens because I've always enjoyed it. But I think everyone can, and I think everyone thinks public speaking is about charisma or energy or coming in and looking like the coolest guy out there and just whiz bang, flashy suits. I don't think that's what it is, because when you from an audience perspective, if you're watching someone who's an amazing public speaker, what are they actually doing? They're actually providing something of value to you, right? So if you want to be the charismatic entertainer, blah blah blah, that's probably stand-up comedy. There might be, I don't know what else, like some sales course or something. I don't know. That's a bad example, but that it's important, right? But in say, if you're wanting to hold a public if you want to hold a talk for how to be a great digital marketer, the person that's sitting there listening to your talk wants to know how I become a good digital marketer. They're not saying, "Hey, is Zion a cool cat?" Right? That's not part of the criteria, right? But you being that cool guy or entertaining helps. But I think anyone can, because anyone has value to provide, right? So if you can provide value, then you're a good public speaker.
Awesome. And what are some tips you'd give to, say, a business owner who knows they got to improve in public speaking because they need to give pitches, for example? What are some tips that you would give to them?
Okay, I'll give one main tip, and this is what I wrote about, which I think is the most important, is this will cover 80% of all the other stuff. You don't even need to know anything else, is just know what impact you're trying to have, right? So take it away from being an internal thing where you're being judged, or where it's I think that's where a lot of fear comes from, because as an evolutionary thing, if you were ostracized from a group, you are pretty much not going to survive, right? That's how we needed to live. So if you can take that element away and just go, what message or what impact or what am I trying to pass on to the audience, keep it as an external goal.
Gotcha.
And your fear alleviates, right? You don't have that fear because you're like, hey, I'm actually trying to pass on a message. I'm going to be useful in whichever way I can.
It's not about me.
It's not about you. Because that's why people go, hey, I'm not a good public speaker. It's because you're fearful. And you're thinking, I'm going to get judged. You're going to get judged regardless, right? Right? Yeah, you will. So then just add value.
Yeah. What advice would you give to an entrepreneur who has an idea and would like to pursue a business in it? Or what advice would you give to a young guy who's got all these ideas and wants to do business, doesn't know how tough it's really going to be? What would be the few things that you'd say to that person?
I think the number one is, again, like we said before, just test, because it'll save you a lot of time, save you a lot of effort, and you can move on to the next thing very quickly. I guess that overrides everything. If you're going to test something, you will know, right?
Do it, test it.
Do it, test it, and if you test it, and by testing, again, let's be more granular. We can go, what's testing? So let's say I have an idea to be a table creator, manufacturer, right? And I want to now, I don't know what you're positioning it, but let's assume I don't know anything about tables. I chose a worse example. But let's say I'm the guy that's got the only access to a new type of tree, right? So the wood I get, no one else can get. So you've got a unique positioning, right? And you think, hey, this is going to be the greatest idea in the world. I'm going to sell a lot of tables, right? Every boardroom's going to want my table.
Tables.
And test it. So then go and call Alico, go and call the other offices here and say, hey, or whichever method you take, I am selling X table, right? And it's XYZ. Can I get a commitment from you of this amount? And I'll give it to you at a and they go, buddy, I'm not interested, right? You get that 10, 15 times, you go, okay, this is an absolutely garbage idea. I'm not going to do it. And then you could move on to saying,
tables, chairs. No.
And then you could move on to saying, look, I've got this tree, and instead of creating tables, I could make cricket bats, right? And that might work, you know? So I think once you test it, then a lot of things come into action.
It's about execution as well. It's not just about having these fancy ideas and then talking about it and not really doing anything about it or knowing if it's going to work.
Big action, right?
It's
big action.
Acting, big action. No, that's awesome, man.
And sorry, that reminds me of another point is try and do something that doesn't cost you any money. And the reason why I say that is because people will go, I can pay $500 for Facebook ads and I'll test this and this. When you have to test without a budget, then you will be creative, right? And you'll have to do stuff in a very unique way. So try and do it on absolute minimal, and that way you'll mitigate your risk. That's right. Because it's all about risk, man. If you're going to do something and you're going to cost you thousands. I met a guy just recently who's been working in his, in the four walls of creating an app for some medical thing. I won't name it, but and he explained it to me. And I said, hey, it sounds cool to me. I said, how much have you spent? Oh, about 100 and something K. And I was thinking, wow, you could have spent 1K and figured out if it was going to work, right? And I hope it works, because that's a big commitment. And what testing have you done? Well, I've researched on the thing saying, hey, there's a market size of 18 billion. There's a market size of 18 billion for everything, even tables, right? But in the end, you've got to you've got to really try and just make sure.
That's a great point, Jasky. That's an awesome one. Okay, so rapid fire questions to wrap things up. Jasky,
all right, let's do it.
The first thing that comes to mind: execution or ideas?
Ideas. Why? Because execution you learn.
Okay. Brand you respect the most, or business that you respect the most?
I think we're talking about Tim Ferriss, so I'll say Tim Ferriss.
Timothy Ferriss. He wrote the 4-Hour Work Week, 4-Hour Body, and a million other things.
And a good podcast.
And a great podcast, by the way. Entrepreneur you connect with the most, apart from Timothy Ferriss?
Seth Godin.
Yeah,
because I'm a marketing kind of guy. So
awesome.
Love Seth Godin.
He's the Purple Cow guy. Favorite business or marketing book? Or favorite book related to business?
Favorite book related to business? Man, there's so many.
Or I can make it easier.
No, actually, there's one I would mention. It's called Made to Stick. And the reason why that comes to me is probably the most important for someone starting a new business. Now, have you read it?
No.
Heath Brothers. Yeah, so I think, unless I'm getting the name wrong. Okay, Made to Stick just shows you how to create a message that will resonate with people. So it's got a very good framework. And I think the framework's called Success, so SUCCESS. And you follow that, and so if you're crafting a message, it shows you how to craft a message that's actually going to resonate. So it's a cool book.
What's it called again? Made to Stick?
Made to Stick.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Small business or big business? What do you prefer?
What do I prefer? Or what?
You.
Yeah, I prefer small. Yeah, small in the sense of large, could be large revenue, but small as in keeping the team or the core very small.
Quite lean.
Just again, I don't like managing a lot of people, so that's probably why.
Awesome. Favorite musician?
Favorite musician? At the moment, The Game is the only one that comes to mind, but I've been obsessed with him for a while. And a lot of people may not even know The Game is such a long time ago, but who else would be
on YouTube a bit, The Game.
Yeah. Maybe Dre. All time would be Dre. Yeah.
Awesome. Tupac or Biggie?
You pronounced Tupac wrong, so I'll have to tell
Tupac. Sorry, Jasky.
No, Tupac. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Awesome, bro. And last one, Miley Cyrus or Justin Bieber?
Justin Bieber, he's actually quite good recently, man, so I'll have to give Justin Bieber props on
I don't know why he gets so much flack, to be honest.
His music's quite good.
Yeah, he's
a new
talented, he works hard. Yeah.
He needs better positioning, there you go.
He needs better marketing, that's right. Hey, look, thanks so much, Jasky. That was awesome. Hope you guys enjoyed that. And how do we get in touch with you, Jasky, or how do people get in touch with you?
The best way is...
I'll have it on screen, by the way. So
yeah. The best way, it's quite easy. I think the best way is Instagram, because I'm going to be doing a few things through Instagram. So at SIKKANT, Sikant.
Cool.
So just follow me on Instagram. I think that's the easiest way.
Okay.
And I've got a profile on Medium, which I typically share through that anyway. But if you jump on there, now Instagram's got stories, so you'll see a whole lot of me, annoying the hell out of you. But yeah, that's the main channel.
And k2av.com.au for your audiovisual business.
Yes, for k2av.com.au in terms of any businesses that are watching this that want to boost up their productivity or just don't know how technology can add value to your business. There's always a way, and it's a good ROI for you guys in doing it. So make sure you check out K2AV.
Awesome, bro. Thanks. Hey everyone, hope you enjoyed that. Look, stay tuned for more videos to come on this channel. Until then, see you later.